Good evening. My name is Latanya Reeves, and I'm the chair of the Community Commission on Police Oversight. Before we begin, I want to offer a friendly reminder to all members, staff, and the public that these meetings are broadcast live to enable greater public participation. These broadcasts include real-time captioning as a further method to increase the accessibility of our proceedings to the community. Therefore, all speakers need to be mindful of the rate of their speech so that our captioners can fully capture and transcribe all comments for the broadcast. We ask all speakers to moderate the speed and clarity of their comments. Additionally, before we proceed with our roll call, I'll note that we have a new commissioner with us today, June Elizabeth Palmer, which is Ward 6. If my colleagues would indulge me, I would think we would do a quick round of introductions as a welcome. And we can start on this end and come around.
Hello, I'm Louis Smith, one of the mayor's appointees.
I am Leah Enderly, Ward 12.
Eric Bartz, Ward 11.
Hello, James Canaday, Ward 10.
Hi and welcome. Bridget Stewart, Ward 8.
Paul Olson, the Vice Chair, and from Ward 3.
Latanya Reeves, Chair, Ward 7, and Mayor appointee.
June Elizabeth Palmer, Ward 6. Happy to be here.
Melissa Newman, Ward 4. Welcome.
Mara Shanfield, Ward 2, and the chair of the Policy Review Committee. Welcome.
Mike McElhenney, Ward 1.
All right, thank you. At this time, I'm going to call to order this regular meeting for Monday, July 14th, and ask the clerk to call the roll to verify the presence of a quorum.
Commissioner McElhenney,
Present.
Commissioner Shanfield,
Present.
Commissioner Newman,
Present.
Commissioner Clement is absent, Commissioner Palmer,
Present.
Commissioner Baker is absent, Commissioner Stewart,
Present.
Commissioner Gurian Sherman is absent, Commissioner Canaday,
Present.
Commissioner Bartz,
Present.
Commissioner Enderly,
Present.
Commissioner Williams Johnson is absent, Commissioner Smith,
Present.
and Vice Chair Olson,
Present.
and Chair Reeves.
Present.
There are 11 members present.
Thank you. Let the record reflect we have a quorum. Commissioners, the agenda for this evening's meeting is before us. I would like to propose an amendment to move the proposed strategic plan to after the reports, so the public who are here to make a comment and listen to the reports are free to leave earlier if they so choose. Can I get a second?
Second.
All right. Second, any discussion? All right, clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner McElhenney,
Yes or no?
Aye.
Commissioner Shanfield,
Aye.
Commissioner Newman,
Aye.
Commissioner Palmer,
Aye.
Commissioner Stewart,
Aye.
Commissioner Canaday,
Aye.
Commissioner Bartz,
Aye.
Commissioner Enderly,
Aye.
Commissioner Williams Johnson is absent, Commissioner Smith,
Aye.
Vice Chair Olson,
Aye.
and Chair Reeves.
Yes.
There are 11 ayes.
All right, thank you. Are there any other amendments to the agenda from commissioners? All right, seeing none, the clerk will call the roll on the amended on the agenda, please. Thank you.
Commissioner McElhenney.
I'm sorry.
This is the roll call for the action, for the whole agenda amended.
Appreciate it. Thank you. Aye.
Okay. Commissioner Shanfield
Aye.
and Commissioner Newman,
Aye.
Commissioner Palmer,
Aye.
Commissioner Stewart,
Aye.
Commissioner Canaday,
Aye.
Commissioner Bartz,
Aye.
Commissioner Enderly,
Aye.
Commissioner Williams Johnson, absent, sorry, Commissioner Smith,
Aye.
Vice Chair Olson,
Aye.
and Chair Reeves.
Yes.
All right, there are 11 ayes.
Thank you. So the amended agenda has been passed. Next up, we'll have one set of minutes to accept from our June meeting. May I have a motion and second to accept the set of minutes?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All right, is there a motion and a second? Any discussion? All right, clerk, if you can call the roll for the minutes.
Commissioner McElhenney,
Aye.
Commissioner Shanfield?
Abstain, I was not here.
Abstain, okay. Commissioner Newman?
Aye.
Commissioner Palmer?
Aye.
Commissioner Stewart?
Aye.
Commissioner Kennedy?
Aye.
Commissioner Bartz?
Aye.
Commissioner Inderly?
Aye.
Commissioner Smith?
Aye.
Vice Chair Olson?
Aye.
And Chair Reeves?
Yes.
All right, there are 10 ayes and 1 abstention.
Thank you. The ayes have it, and the minutes have been accepted. Next in the order is public comments. We'll open the floor to any comments from the public, giving each speaker 2 minutes to address the commission. We'll be taking speakers in the order that they've registered. If you wish to address the commission tonight and haven't already done so, you may register with the clerk at the side of the dais. If any speaker has printed materials, please give those to the city clerk. We also invite folks to submit written comments using the forms available from the city clerk to be included in the public record as an alternative to speaking at tonight's comment section. Each speaker will be given 2 minutes to address the commission tonight. We have a timer to assist speakers in monitoring their use of time. With that, I'll open the public comment period. Our first speaker tonight is Verlin.
Yep.
I'm sorry.
Verlin Schmalley.
Smalley, thank you.
Thank you, Chair Reeves. I'm Verlin Schmalley. I live in the 12th Ward.
Sir, I'll have you speak into the microphone, please.
Yep.
Okay.
All right, here we go. The police oversight's role is to ensure MPD is providing lawful, non-discriminatory police services. The scope includes actions that police officers take in our city. Ensuring equity also addresses actions that officers do not take. MPD data shows that there were 2,912 911 calls made from the 12th Ward in the 5-month period from October 1st, 2024 to March 2nd, 2025. The data also shows that only 535 of those calls, just 19.8%, were responded by an officer in the 12th Ward at the time of the call. The reason there are no officers in the 12th Ward is because there are just 9 officers per shift assigned to cover the entire 3rd precinct. 1 2-person squad for each of the 4 sectors and 1 one-person squad as an overlay. The sector assignments focus resources on the 9th Ward, leading the 12th Ward abandoned 80% of the time. The 3rd precinct covers approximately 130,000 people. I've asked why 30% of the population is assigned only 27 officers, which is less than 5% of the MPD resources. MPD, the mayor, and my city council member have no answer. There are consequences for the lack of police in the 3rd precinct. So far in 2025, the 3rd reports double the number of burglaries compared with any other precinct in the city. Additionally, my quiet residential Hiawatha neighborhood has the highest incidence of burglaries of any neighborhood in the city. I believe consistent, benevolent police presence is the best way to avoid crime from occurring. Consistency in policing is also the best way to prevent incidents from escalating to the use of force. I'm asking the Police Oversight Board to expand their review. Review all what police do and what they are not doing. Restore basic police services to the 12th Ward.
Thank you, sir.
35,000 people should not be without a police officer 80% of the time. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Seeing no other further public comments, we'll complete all public comments and we'll close the public comment period. Let the record reflect that Commissioner Baker has arrived. Thank you. Welcome, Commissioner. The next item is to receive and file a summary of the commission's, I think we should be, are we doing the strategic plan next, just to make sure, on the agenda? Because we just switched the order, and the strategic plan would have been first, correct? One moment.
Chair Reeves, my understanding was that you were going to complete all of the agenda and do the strategic planning as the final item.
I just want to make sure.
Chair Reeves,
Okay.
I think
All right.
I had it as after the reports section.
All of the
So
reports.
anyone that wanted to listen to the reports and then the strategic plan.
Got you.
But also for, like, the new business can still be after that.
Okay. Thank you. Just wanted to confirm that because it looked a little bit different on my sheet. Thank you. The next item is to receive and file a summary of the community questions raised at the June meeting. Are there any questions from the commissioners? Commissioner Stewart.
I have a question. Is there any way that we could give the gentleman that was just speaking about Ward 12, do I need to file a motion for him to be able to continue to speak? I believe that what he was saying, he had a little bit of a difficult time, and I think that it's worth all of us taking a moment to hear what he has to say, considering that part of our job is to listen to the community and hear what their concerns are as police oversight.
I would also second that as the Ward 12. I mean, he's walking out now.
Do we want to just pause a moment to see if he would like to let's pause a moment. Okay. So we have a motion and a second to allow the gentleman, if he would like to extend his comments.
Yeah.
Is there
Yes.
any discussion?
As the Ward 12 representative, I would love to hear what he fully has to say.
Okay. And so is there no further discussion? We would like to just do this on a vote of yes or no to make this expedient. If you're in favor of this motion, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? Any abstentions? Sir, if you would like to continue, we'd like to give you some more time. Okay. We just wanted to make sure if you wanted something. Can I have you just come to the microphone and say that part so the people at home can hear what you're saying? I'm sorry.
Of the primary documentation of the 911 calls. That was a packet that was handed out. So you have that data. Dig in, look at it. It's real, it's from the MPD, and we shouldn't be abandoned 80% of the time.
Okay.
Thanks.
Thank you for your comments. Okay.
Thank you.
All right. So the next item is to receive and file a summary of the community questions raised at the June meeting. Are there any questions from the commissioners?
Quick question.
Yes.
I'm
Commissioner
wondering if there might be a opportunity to share a few of the answers with the public, or are we expecting them just to go on to LIMS and find the answers?
I do not have that document in front of me in terms of being able to say it. If the clerk's office wanted to say a couple of comments about the form?
It should be in your packet.
Okay. Do we have copies on the table?
There is the public copy in the binder, but everyone should have it in their packet, which is the same that's in the binder.
Page 10.
I'm wondering maybe just like a couple of highlights, or I'm happy to read a couple, or maybe the community engagement folks who've looked at it more closely might have a sense.
No, it's not that page.
It's the one that starts with an email from Kelly Giesler. I said that wrong.
Okay, so on the packet that we received, there was a discussion around the seats, seat 6 and seat 9, and there's discussion about those seats. One of the questions that was asked was, who is the appointing authority for CCPO? What are the roles and responsibilities in the process of the city clerk and of any other departments or staff? If a nomination is forwarded by a council member or mayor, can the city clerk or anyone else obstruct that process? The answer was generally the appointing authorities for the city's appointed boards and commissions, which are referred to as ABCs, are the city council and mayor acting together as the city's governing body. This is true for the CCPO. This is addressed in number 5 in the attached APC reform frequently asked questions, which is online. Thus, unless a separate legal provision applies, all appointments are made through the combined formal action of the city council and the mayor following the standard legislative process and are deemed to be official acts as that term is defined in the city charter. There was also discussion regarding the roles and responsibilities, the city council and the mayor. They define the city council and mayor separately, and then they have additional comment for the mayor and what their role and responsibility is in an appointing authority, as well as the city clerk. And then there's also discussion around the departments, what that looks like, who obtains the official roster of the city's boards and commissions, nomination and appointment, and what that looks like, a summary of the application process. There's also discussion around why were some commissioners appointed for only a few weeks, and would there be a reappointment to a new term? Pursuant to the charter, all appointments to the city councils, appointments to the city's appointed boards and commissions are made to defined time periods which are tied to each seat on each body. Terms are not tied to the dates of service for the individuals who may be appointed to a seat. So there's information on that in the handout. And so there's some more information online about what that looks like. Commissioner Shanford, did you want anything else brought up?
Super helpful.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Appreciate that. Okay, was there any further discussion on this item?
I did have a question about something.
Commissioner Palmer.
So my question is for the city clerk. Just kind of a clarifying question. In section 2C2, 2C3, and 2C4 of this document, it goes over some of the responsibilities and duties of the city clerk's office in appointing new commissioners. And I won't read the whole thing for the sake of time, but just a little brief overview. It's going over managing recruitment and appointment cycles, communicating with applicants, and facilitating internal screening and vetting processes, and supporting the creation and submittal of nominations for consideration and formal action by designating appointing authorities. 2C3 says collaborating with appointing authorities, departments, and partners on promotional campaigns. And 4 is processing appointments, coordinating appointment-related communications, both internal and external, and notifying selected individuals of their appointment to the city's ABCs. My question is, that is the responsibilities of the city's office, and I'm just wondering, because my experience was, I feel somewhat drawn out than I've seen with other commissioners. What was, if you're able to share, what was the kind of extent of collaborating with the appointing authorities, both in regards to my application, but also in regards to Ward 9, as it was also asked at the time?
Chair Reeves, Commissioner, I'm not 100% positive on what you're asking, so I don't want to just posit a random answer. So, because what I can say generally is what this means by facilitate is we facilitate the process. We don't give any input really on who the candidate is. When that information is ready, we facilitate moving it along. And when it's not ready, I don't want to say nothing for us to do, but we have almost no input on the actual selection of a person. We're fostering the process at every sort of section along the way, guided by the appointing authority, who's the council member, and the Civil Rights Department, who sort of manages the content of this body and is the assigned department that supports this body. We support the process and the process only. So I don't know if that answers your question, but that is my general answer.
That does answer it, yes.
Okay. Any other comments or questions? Okay. I'll direct the clerk to receive and file that report. The next order of business is reports. We'll begin with the report from the Office of Police Conduct Review, which will be presented by Director Fujisawa. We've allocated 10 minutes for this report. Welcome, Director.
Good evening. My name is Russell Fujisawa. I'm the Associate Director of the Office of Police Conduct Review under Civil Rights. Just a short agenda this evening, just talk about the background of the office given a new commissioner as well as some other recently joined members. Our usual review of the intake and administrative investigation units, as well as a review of our progress on review panels as it relates to this body. The Office of Police Conduct Review, as you know, is a neutral agency that investigates all allegations of police misconduct made by members of the public to the city of Minneapolis. OPCR is a division of the Minneapolis Department of Civil Rights. OPCR is mandated to review public complaints involving alleged misconduct by Minneapolis police officers. We are committed to ensuring that community concerns are taken seriously and that all complaints are investigated fairly. Our goal is to help build a stronger, more accountable system that both residents and law enforcement can trust. Taking a look at our intake investigations unit, year to date, our office has received 182 complaints. As you can see, the month-to-month trends show a pretty steady increase, and that is in both the number of complaints as well as inquiries that our office is fielding. Just this past month, in June alone, we fielded 122 contacts. I can say that from June of 2024 through December of 2024, our office had 472 contacts. Just this year so far in January through June, so one fewer month, we've had 492 contacts. So our office is busy, right? And that's just on the front end of complaint receipt. So either triaging those to our administrative investigations team, referring out to appropriate agencies, vetting to ensure that there is a complaint of misconduct, following up with complainants to get more information. That is the work that our office is doing to ensure that we are properly receiving and investigating these complaints on the front end so that our team on the administrative investigations team can do a thorough job on the back end with the body of the investigation. You will see that right now there are 111 complaints, or this was as of a week ago, so 7/7. There were 111 complaints that were sitting in the intake queue. Of those 111 complaints, 69 were over 30 days, in age. And so 29 of those were assigned at the time, and this is a downward trend. I'm not sure if you remember from our previous reports, the total number of intakes has hovered around 80 to 90 over the last few months. This is moving down, and this is a testament to the work that the intake team is doing in terms of moving through these complaints thoroughly but efficiently, trying to get to a place where we can be in compliance with the requirements of the settlement agreement and the consent decree. And you can see that we currently, our investigation duration on the intake side is approximately 22 days, which is in compliance with the requirement in the settlement agreement of 30 days in intake. And this will continue. This number is trending downwards. We do have increasingly complex cases, but this number continues to move down. But it is under a mountain of complaints, right? As you can see, 111, 182 year to date. So we continue to field these as quickly and as efficiently as possible. It helps that we are staffed up, but the rate of complaints that we receive is increasing. And I think I mentioned this last month. We have noticed an increase, and anecdotally, we have seen complaints that are years or even a decade or more old. I would like to attribute this to our increasing community engagement efforts, encouraging people to file complaints, really maintaining the ways through which members of the community can file complaints, the number of referrals that we send out to other investigative agencies, because we don't have jurisdiction, that number continues to grow. And I'd like to believe that it's because we are an agency that is very public, and we are encouraging individuals to report misconduct where they see it. And it is our job as the Office of Police Conduct Review, under the settlement agreement, under the consent decree, to get those complaints where they need to be, whether that's our office or somebody else's. Looking at our administrative investigations, we continue to work through the backlog. You can see that we're making progress. We have, as we did previously, had all all cases from the backlog assigned to our administrative investigations team. The number of assigned continues to decrease, indicating that we are moving through those investigations, moving those into the review process, whether that is internally with our team in supervisory review or along to the review panel, which this body supports, or along to the chief's office for the chief's review and subsequent discipline. Continue to make progress, continue to have the objective to complete this work and the work on the backlog investigations. Again, the OPCR investigative work, to have that complete by the end of August. We are on track to do so. There are a couple of instances in which we have officers on family leave, in which the investigations are moving forward. We are planning for their return and to schedule their interviews and to make sure that those investigations can be tied up still by the end of the month, next month. Moving on to the next bucket of complaints received. We continue, as our investigations are completed in the backlog, continue to assign out our older non-compliant cases that are older than 180 days. We will continue to work from the back forwards and try to position ourselves so that we can be in compliance. I think the one thing, and I did highlight this previously, the number of investigations that sits with the backlog, I believe, is about 2 to 3 times larger than the rest of the current cases that we have. So from a capacity standpoint, from a time to completion standpoint, we are much better positioned once we are through the backlog to get through the remaining cases and to give ourselves a good chance of getting into compliance with the timelines while continuing to put forth quality, efficient investigations and reports to this body and to the chief. Again, if you just notice the numbers, we are, obviously we have fewer cases assigned here because these are the most recent complaints that we've received. But again, the overall number is much more manageable in size than the backlog that we've worked through at a pretty astounding pace over the last 9 months. In terms of CCPO training and our support of this body, the Office of Police Conduct Review hosted NACOL here in Minneapolis on June 16th to provide a hybrid in-person and virtual training to a number of the commissioners on a number of topics, including applying legal standards, reviewing investigations, anti-racism, and implicit bias training. We have also stood up our live self-paced training modules through our city's COMET system. I think all modules are live with the exception of our labor standards training, which is under review by one of our city's legal teams, just to ensure that that is appropriate and effective delivery of the information. So we're very encouraged by that, given that we have new commissioners starting, gives flexibility to complete those trainings as you are available, because we know you are all busy, have other responsibilities and requirements. So we're really thrilled about that. I think, don't necessarily quote me, but I think we are one of the first boards or commissions to use this system for self-paced training modules, just to give that flexibility. And honestly, it looks great, especially compared to our old training technique of using old training videos, trying to lock down a couple hours during the business day that matched up with our staff. So I'm really happy about this, and I hope you all are as well. Moving on to review panel updates. This is another trend that is encouraging, and it's not surprising just with the number of cases that come through IA and OPCR. But we continue to see a steady upward trend of review panel sessions that are scheduled and completed over the course of the year. We appreciate the commitment and the time that it takes to review these cases. As you can see, there are many cases in the pipeline from IA and OPCR. That will not change, so we're trying to do our best logistics-wise to schedule appropriately and thoroughly to give commission members enough time to review and convene.
Thank you. Are there any questions?
I have a
So just one moment. And so because of time has expired, and we do have a question, if we could get a motion to extend time for a certain number of minutes to allow questions. Anyone want to propose a motion?
I'll propose it.
Time frame, please?
2
2 minutes. All right. Is there a second?
Second.
For expediency purposes, all those in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? Any abstentions? All right, let's go.
So I just have 2 questions for you, and you might be able to answer them. You might have to follow up with me in an email. When you were just showing the two slides back, no, maybe it's 3. Go back. One more. Another one. None of these. Right here. Where you see June of 2024 and June of 2025, the number of complaints is 22 more complaints in June of 2025. Is this a trend because of, I know you mentioned community engagements, or is this a trend that we're seeing that reform isn't taking place?
It's not conclusive, right? And I don't have a good answer for that, right? Whether it's the misconduct is occurring and people are reporting it, whether people feel empowered to report the misconduct that was occurring, we don't have an answer or any data to back that up.
Okay. And then how many of the complaints are, you mentioned current complaints versus old complaints. Is there a breakdown of numbers or data that would reflect what has been found in both of the consent decrees? I know that we're not under the federal one anymore, but we are still under the state. So is there a way for you to get us the numbers to show that
when those
data?
complaints are coming from? Yeah, absolutely. And so some of that is embedded here just in that third point of, we have 69 complaints that are 30 days or older.
No, my question is, does it reflect what was found to be practices by MPD against people of color and people that have disability? Can we get that data?
In terms of the nature of the complaint.
Yes.
And so I will say unrelated to, well, I mean, I guess it's related, but in terms of the case summaries that have been requested and are part of the ordinance and the settlement agreement, we are working with the city attorney's office labor and employment team. We have consulted with ALIFA to understand the requirements there. And I say that because we need to be mindful of the Minnesota Government Data Practice Act, which is extremely restrictive in terms of what we can provide. We are having, we had conversations last week and this week, and we are working towards including case summaries with the nature of the complaint and the disposition, hopefully by next month's report. And that's in addition to the case synopses that have previously been published and I think will be published and adopted later this evening. So we are trying to be responsive to that request from this body, previously from the public, and also in the settlement agreement and the ordinance.
Got you. So that, I'll email you.
Thank you. All right, so all time has expired on this topic. If there are any other questions, please email Director Fujisawa. All right, I'll ask the clerk to receive and file that report. Next up is the monthly report from the Police Department's Internal Affairs Division. I'll invite Ms. Hastings to come up and present, and I've allocated 15 minutes for this report. Thank you.
All right, good evening, Commissioners. My name is Lily Hastings. I am a case manager in MPD's Internal Affairs Unit. Tonight we're going to go over a little bit more than we usually go through, so we're going to go through some staffing updates, training updates. We're going to highlight a website that is up and running, and then we'll go through our usual backlog updates and statistics and trends. So first thing I want to go through is Internal Affairs has had some new team additions within the past month. One thing I do want to highlight is these are replacements. They are not new positions in addition to what we already had. So as you'll notice that we did have some staffing turnover within the last month. So this month we welcomed Commander Paul Elbers as the Internal Affairs Commander, Lieutenant Walter Alvarado as the Internal Affairs Lieutenant, and then we also welcomed a new Sergeant, Sergeant Heidi Eisenbeis, as an investigator for this month. Additionally, we do want to highlight, last month when I spoke, I believe I stated that the Internal Affairs Unit was fully staffed at the last meeting. We just wanted to add a correction that Internal Affairs was not fully staffed and is still not fully staffed at the date of making that statement. We do have a vacant Administrative Support Specialist position. The position was posted and has since closed, and we're working on scheduling interviews in early August. And then again, as stated in the last meeting, we just want to continue to express that we do need additional staff members to support all of the workload that we have within our unit currently, and we do not have enough resources as it stands to withstand the amount of work that is coming into our unit each day. So we are asking for additional supervisory resources and additional resources for data analyst positions. Moving on to training, as I've explained, the past couple months, OPCR, and some city stakeholders are working on creating a training plan for our drafted SOP and the drafted 2-100, which is the Internal Affairs and OPCR and Corrective Action Policy. The training plan will still need to go through the same lengthy process that the SOP and the 2-100 draft went through, meaning we need to do working sessions with the LIFA, with MDHR, with our city stakeholders as well. And at this point, the project is pending appropriate staffing, along with the completion approval of the SOP and the 2-100 draft. An update on what we are currently doing for training. Last month, I explained that our internal affairs investigators attended the first day of MPD's new use of force training. Our internal affairs investigators have now since completed the second day of use of force training and are scheduled to complete their third day by the end of August, prior to the new use of force coming effective. I believe it's August 23rd, or it's that last week. Additionally, all of our IA civilian investigators completed several additional topics for training, including emergency vehicle operations, such as pursuit driving, tasers, engaging with minors, and body-worn cameras. Our sworn investigators have already taken those modules, so we are just getting our civilian investigators caught up. Moving on to a website highlight. We do want to just highlight that there is a city website to complement a police officer that is available. Internal Affairs receives these compliments, and per our new drafted 2-100 policy, we will be sending these outwards to the officer and their supervisor, so that their supervisor can review those compliments with them, and they can be included in performance evaluations and within their HR personnel file, just to even out negative and positive remarks in that file. Moving on to our backlog update. You'll see our numbers have decreased with one caveat. We had one additional increase of a case at the end of June 30th, 2025. The reason for that is we had a case that was originally routed for an expedited disposition, to which the officer declined, meaning that it needed to go back and start through an admin investigation. Percentage of backlog cleared. At the end of June 2025, we were at 45%. I'm happy to announce that today we actually hit 50%. So things are still moving, even within a matter of a couple weeks since taking this report. Moving through statistics and trends, as of the end of June, we had 12 open intakes. You'll see our average age jumped. Previously, we were sticking around the 20 to 27 range for the past few months, but unfortunately, due to the staffing turnovers, that rate increased. We hope to see this back down under 30 days next month at the reporting period. So our average as of the end of June 2025 jumped up to 43 days. However, the average duration that it takes for an intake investigator once assigned to completed still remained within the 30 days that we have allotted for intake. Moving on to admin investigations, we had 57 at the end of June 2025. The average age was 225 days. Again, last month, this was down to, I believe, 201 days. So again, due to the staffing turnover, and unfortunately having cases that were just about ready to be completed that needed to be reassigned. This is increasing again. We do anticipate that this will come down for the next reporting period next month. Out of those 57 cases, 6 of them are considered part of the historical backlog, meaning they were 180 days as of ALIFA's start date. 17 are considered non-compliant cases, meaning after ALIFA's start date, they became over 180 days old, and 34 of those cases are considered current, meaning they're under 180 days. 51 of those 57 are currently assigned to investigators, and 6 of the 57 are unassigned and are waiting to be assigned. As for expedited disposition cases, as of the end of June, we had 46 cases. 13 of those 46 are considered part of the historical backlog. 14 are considered non-compliant cases, and 19 are considered current cases. And then moving on to our supervisor review. Again, this includes both administrative investigations and expedited dispositions. As of the end of June 2025, we had 128 cases that are waiting in the supervisory review queue. 63 of those 128 are considered part of the historical backlog. 53 are considered non-compliant cases, and 12 cases are considered current. Moving on to Chief's Office statistics. I believe that this has been in previous reports, but we haven't had it in our presentations previously, so we needed to add that. So as of the end of June 2025, there were 6 cases that were set at Loudermill hearings, which is still counted under the Chief's Office status. Administrative investigation cases that were currently waiting at Chief's Office was 18 total cases as of the end of June. Regarding grievance and arbitration, as of the end of June, there were 4 discipline-related grievances, and there were 3 arbitration. That just means it's an escalated grievance to get to the stage of an arbitration. We just want to highlight as well the discipline dashboard was recently updated. Just a reminder, these discipline decisions are any decisions that occurred on or after June 8th, 2020. So that is the information that will appear on this dashboard. And here's a list of just recent cases that were uploaded just this last month. Moving on to our trending data, you'll see our intake data over here. Last month we had a very, very small amount of complaints coming in, so we used it to catch up on the intake queue that we already had. So you will see here that we only had 5 incoming complaints into our unit last month. However, we were able to complete 23, meaning that our queue was then down to about 12. So I also added that information, that new column you'll see here. That correlates with how many are in the intake queue, that statistic there, but that way we can keep track of how many is still waiting. Open investigation cases, this is the same numbers that we went through earlier, but just shown in a little bit of a different graphic. So again, admin investigations, 34 are current, 17 are non-compliant, and 6 are part of the backlog. And for our expedited dispositions, 19 are current, 14 are non-compliant, and 13 are part of our historical backlog. We also broke out our intake data, so any of the intakes that were in progress as of June 30th, 2025. You'll see the incident dates here. Again, we just want a reminder that you might see an incident date all the way back to September 2023 in here. The averages times, like we have the 30 days for intake, is based off of when we received the complaint, not on the incident date. We also broke out our intake data by precinct for the incident. So below you'll see the intakes that are in progress. This is where typical the incident location is ranging. For our completed intakes, so those 23 that were completed, these are the different routing decisions for those completed intakes. So we had 7 that went to an admin investigation, 7 that went through expedited disposition. We had 3 that were referred, 4 that were dismissed, and 2 that were sent for non-disciplinary corrective action with the approval of the chief or his designee. So again, non-disciplinary corrective action is the coaching or training. We're almost done getting to the admin investigations. We break those out as well here by incident date. We are starting to notice those 2020, 2021, and 2022 columns shorten very, very heavily, so we're excited to see that. And then I think the last slide here is our open investigations, open admin ones as of the end of June, broken out similar to intakes by precinct of the incident. All right.
Thank you very much. Any questions from commissioners?
I have
Commissioner, sorry. Commissioner Palmer?
So I did have a few questions here. We'll try to keep them a bit brief. So the first one, you incorrectly stated last month that IA was fully staffed, and you've issued that correction. My question is, how did that error occur, and why was it included in an official report if it was false information?
The error occurred simply just because that is, it was just a misstep of my information. I just incorrectly stated. I am one of the supervisors over that position, and I just incorrectly stated at last month's meeting. Within it being in a report, it was actually part of a question that was asked. It wasn't included within our report.
Okay. And then I had another question here. How the complimenting an officer webpage said in the report it can affect behavior and culture change. My question is, how exactly does it do that? Has this been observed and documented? And how has public reception and engagement been with this new feature?
This has not been documented thoroughly enough yet to see that actual change occurring. Part of what has happened with this compliment board, it was enacted close to 2022. And it was not being monitored. So there are over 250 public compliments in that board that we are pending being able to send out to our officers. After sending that information out, we do plan to monitor to see how that may or may not improve or change, the behavior.
Okay. And then I had one last one. So the reports have an average age of 43 days, but on average takes 27 days for an investigator to complete. Can you explain why there's a 14-day difference?
Yep, I can explain that. So the average duration that it takes to complete, that's simply from the date that the intake investigator is actually assigned to the date that the intake is completed, meaning the final document is signed. So there is a discrepancy of several days in the assignment, simply because we had the staffing turnover and we were waiting to get some people up on board to assign out.
I accidentally said I had one last, but this is actually my last one here. In that last one you said about the incident dates, there's multiple month-long gaps going back from September 23, and then a few other ones in here of just a few gaps where there are no incidents and no intakes related to that. Is there a reason why there are huge gaps from September 23 to September 24, and then from September of 24 to April of 25?
So the gaps don't mean that there aren't any incidents that occurred. This specific data is what we have in our intake queue at the time, so this is only referencing those 12 cases that we had in the intake queue and where those incident dates were. Not only are OPCR and IA in a backlog, but there are other units that refer those complaints to us that are also part of a backlog. So we may receive complaints from 2023 from other units that are also working through their backlogs.
Okay, thank you. So we expired time, but was there any other questions from commissioners?
Yes, I do have a question.
One second, Commissioner Newman. And because time has expired, we would like to get a motion to extend the time to be able to ask your question, so we're following the agenda. So did you want to make a motion to extend time to ask your question?
Sure. Just a motion to extend time for possibly a minute to 2 minutes.
2 minutes? We have multiple questions, so would you consider 5 minutes?
Sure.
Okay. Is there a second to extend time for 5 minutes?
Second.
Thank you. Just to make for expediency purposes. All those in favor, please say yes.
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 Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay. Please, Commissioner Newman.
A few trainings ago, we had requested to be a part of some MPD training sessions that you might have, or Mason Taser, or any of the, body worn trainings and stuff that MPD is housing. Wondering if that is still something that we as commissioners are able to do, and when is there an update training session that we can be a part of because this was back in, I want to look like maybe October of last year, I remember from a meeting, but it would be nice to be present at some of these trainings sessions that MPD is housing.
Okay. Thank you, Commissioner. Internal Affairs doesn't necessarily coordinate those trainings. They get coordinated by the training unit in MPD. However, I can certainly pass along that information that you're interested, and then work with OPCR Director Russell Fujisawa on any necessary coordination we need between the units.
Yeah, and another one I'd probably say, like you're talking about engaging with minors and stuff like that. I mean, any of those type of trainings, not just Mace and Taser and stuff like that, but something that I would be truly interested in. I'm sure other commissioners will probably as well.
Yeah, our internal affairs investigators took many of the courses for the Cadet and Recruit Academy, and I will at least speak to my personal experience. It was a great help to me, and it was really valuable.
Sure, thank you. I appreciate it if you can.
All right, thank you. Seeing no further questions, I'll direct the clerk to receive and file that report. Our next item is the long one, the approval of the strategic planning proposal from committees. I will ask Commissioner Shanfield to start us out. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair Reeves. You guys ready to have a good time tonight? Is that not appropriate to say? This is an opportunity for us to really put our heads together and to put on paper what we've all been wanting and talking about. I'm delighted to be here to share some of the work that I do outside of this, includes strategic planning. So if I'm going too fast or not making sense, please feel free to interrupt. What I've learned from my day job is that the plan itself is not as valuable as the process of planning. In other words, the process of us working together, making sense of things, and having a shared vision, and quite frankly, an elevator speech that when someone asks, what do you guys do on the commission, that we have a similar coherent answer to give to people. That's my hope for tonight, is that we get closer to that. So in the last meeting, in the June meeting, Commissioner Smith offered, and thank you, for bringing up the strategic plan and saying, hey, we would really like to dive into this further before checking it off. What we decided to do then is the two of us sat down and we said, in our committees this month, in June, why don't we go in and ask how these things might happen through the committees? What would the activities be? What are the strategies to make these priorities come to light? So if you can imagine a pyramid, we're really starting at the bottom, the little tiny grain size of what the activities would be, what the PPRR committee would be engaged in so that we can fulfill our vision and mission. Are you with me? Cool, okay. So I'm going to describe to you the process we went through in PPRR, then Commissioner Smith will talk about community engagement, and then we'll take it up a level of this pyramid. So in your packet, I want to give you the right page numbers here. In your packet, there is a page number 1, but it's about 5 pages in. And it looks like this. You're with, it says strategic plan. It does. So I'm going to just talk quickly through pages 2 and 3 there. This is the process we used. You have the notes and you had them in advance, so I'm not going to read through each of the bullet points. But what I will share is that we sat down and we talked about what was working and what wasn't working so far. From our lens on the PPRR committee. For example, we know that the work we do on panels is confidential and therefore appears a bit secretive to the public, and we want to figure out what is it that we could do about that. I asked the group, and we put our heads together to say, what is our charge? What is our desired outcome? What are we really trying to do? So that's what you see in number 2 on page 2. Which is the desired outcome. Essentially, this is our charge as the PPRR committee. We are aiming to provide substantive recommendations to MPD. That is the goal of our group, and we will happen to do that in several ways. So I'm going to ask you to skip to number 5 on page 3. Because what we started to talk about was, well, what are the actions that would allow us to provide substantive recommendations? How could we get to that? We just kept asking how, until we got to real concrete action and ways to operationalize this. So under number 5, we talked about actual actions, things we could do, and they fell into 3 categories. So 5A, 5B, and 5C, you see here, practices. So this means examining the current practices of MPD. It also means looking across the country, looking across the globe to see what other practices are innovative and working in other places and that we could bring here. The second bucket of strategies is policy. And you're familiar with the policy review we've started to do. This month, we'll be looking at the early intervention system. That's a forthcoming policy. And we were told via the implementation unit that would be really useful for us to look at next. I do have hard copies of that for the people in the committee, so don't let me forget to give those to you at the end. And finally, the panels. We were, as I mentioned earlier, they seem secretive to the public. What could we do? And we were talking about, well, looking at the aggregate data could be useful. Recommending refinements to the discipline matrix. We know that's something on the chief's agenda. And also determining the utility and the timing of the review using the synopses and the summaries. We can figure out what that will look like. Then you're going to go back to page 2. And I'm going to land here, which is number 3 on page 2, is a theory of action. So based on what the committee came up with, I took all of those activities, all of those buckets, those 3 Ps I just gave you, policy, practice, panels. And a theory of action, as you may know, is an if-then statement. If we do these things, then we think we will get the results that we are intending to get. So for PPRR to be able to provide substantive recommendations to MPD and have a more impactful role in transforming the culture of policing in Minneapolis, we believe that we can review the MPD policies, leverage our lessons learned through discipline panels, and work with OPCR to research innovative ideas to bring to the table. So those 3 things, panels, policies, and practices, are what we believe the strategies are for moving forward and accomplishing our desired outcome, which is the substantive recommendations. So I'm going to pause there, see if there's any questions or clarification, and then I'll hand it to Commissioner Lewis. Commissioner Smith.
Any questions?
I did have one question.
Commissioner Palmer.
Yep. So you were saying you wanted to look at some work that's being done not just in Minneapolis regarding police oversight, but nationally as well. Have you looked into what's called ECPS in Chicago, Empowering Communities for Public Safety? If you haven't, I definitely recommend that you should do that.
Noted. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Commissioner Smith.
Madam Chair, Commissioners, following the same kind of process, it's not on.
I'm sorry? Oh. There you go.
Following the similar process that Commissioner Shanfield outlined, our committee engagement committee vice chair, Commissioner Stewart, and I had some discussion about framing strategic ideas and activities, initiatives for community engagement. We then had a committee meeting, which was well attended with several of our new commissioners, including Commissioner Inderly, Commissioner McElhenney, and our Commissioner designate Sila. And so we also had a member of the public, Mr. Turchik, participate extensively in our discussion. Then we went through this outline that I'll speak with you, and then following the committee meeting, we kind of updated this outline and met with Ms. Shong, our policy analyst, along with Commissioner Schoenfield, to try to put these in a similar kind of format and do a few things that we're following up on our discussion. So let me review briefly for you. We began our discussion with assessing our situation in terms of community engagement, feeling that this commission is still in startup mode. We've had a significant turnover of membership. We're still in a city setting experiencing conflict around community safety and policing. There's general lack of awareness of our existence as a commission. What media coverage and information is out there tends to be generally negative. So we see a real need to build trust with the community. We've also experienced frustration with our public comment periods because they don't engender meaningful dialogue, so it don't seem like a basis to build trust through dialogue, through simply those public comments. We're mindful that there is community listening session fatigue. There have been a number of listening sessions, so the public can rightly ask, the community can ask, so you're listening, what are you going to do with it? We have some experience under our record of doing disciplinary panel reviews and policy reviews, and we're starting to gather data on summary complaints. Also, the idea that as we learn more about that data, that could inform where we focus our outreach efforts. We also finally are mindful that as commissioners who are volunteers, we have limited capacity. And even though the staff are professionals, they are also with some limited capacity. So with that in mind, we went through a discussion about performance indicators. I'm going to come back to this theory of action at the end, as did Commissioner Schoenfield. Commissioner McElhenney helped us think about kind of a database key performance indicator kind of mindset. How will we measure improvement in building community trust? And so we talked about some different survey opportunities, and we can come back to that in more detail. But we thought if we did a baseline survey and then we followed up a year later, we'd like to see some meaningful increase, perhaps that's 10%, perhaps it's another number, of resident awareness of CCPO and understanding of our work. Our discussions boiled down different strategic activities in several main categories. One was to plan and implement several informal community listening sessions where we bring some basic information about the commission out into a community setting. We equip each commissioner with the ability to bring that message and that information out into community. We focus perhaps on neighborhood organizations within the wards that each of us are focused on, or other community organizations within the ward. Being clear that up front, the main purpose is to listen, to gather input in those settings, to see what kinds of concerns we can bring back and where our work can be relevant to informing and engaging further in discussion. One of the most important things we discussed was the idea that when you hear someone from the public sharing a concern, there needs to be a validation and understanding of that concern, so we begin a dialogue rather than simply taking the comment and leaving the impression that we're not doing anything with it. We also had a discussion about reflecting on our experiences on the disciplinary panels. That's a big part of the work that we've undertaken, but since they are closed, to the public, there's very little understanding of what's being accomplished there. So within legal constraints, we thought there's some way that we can bring not only summary data about these panel experiences, but also reflections about what we've learned from these as commissioners, and perhaps find a way then to share that out to the public effectively. Again, we would like to equip each commissioner with a presentation they can take into the ward they represent. We encouraged the idea that if each of us over the course of a year went one-on-one out for coffee with even a handful of people who are known to be concerned about this work, we would really move the needle because we're starting at zero in terms of exchange of information and building of trust. We also identified a number of community organizations where it would behoove us to be present and just listening and show that as CCPO members were there. Let me wind up then with the theory of action. We didn't discuss that in our committee, but we wanted to come up with something to at least discuss here based on the model that Commissioner Schonfield offered. So our theory of action as a draft is, if CCPO engages in listening sessions at neighborhood and community organizations, shares data and reflections on experiences with police disciplinary panels, and holds informal conversations with community members, then CCPO can build stronger community awareness of and trust in its work, so that we'll ultimately have a more impactful role in providing meaningful and effective oversight of the police and their interactions with the community. So that's our community engagement report.
Thank you. Any questions?
I do.
Commissioner Palmer?
Yep. So my first question for the community engagement, you say you want to create a process within legal constraints to reflect upon review panel experiences. Are you able to share what some of those constraints are and how to work with them? And I understand that we might not have an answer to that yet, as it seems like we need to develop one, but I'm just curious if there's any answer to that yet.
Yes, Madam Chair, Commissioner Palmer, that's a great question. I think our basic sense is that we enter into those panels reviewing disciplinary cases with a commitment to confidentiality. And we are not at liberty, we're prohibited from discussing the details of any of those cases in any way that would identify the parties or the officer. Nonetheless, as we gather summary information about the nature of the complaints, whether or not there's merit to them, the kind of discipline that's imposed, the types of policies that are violated, the quality of experience that we as civilians have in the exchange with sworn panel members, the give and take there, what seems to be happening. Do we think it's a valuable, legit disciplinary process? All of those kinds of things we started to discuss and feel as though those are very lawful things for us to be discussing and sharing without getting into the particular details of any individual case.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, Commissioner Shanfield.
Thank you so much, Chair. Commissioner Palmer, I'll add to the Data Practices Act, which Director Fujisawa brought up, is something that severely constrains the work. And so thinking of ways in which we can learn more about that and how we can work with it legally is something we've been working on. All right, so now if we were not sitting on this dais, we would maybe have some Post-it notes and some chart paper and some markers. We don't have that because this is a public meeting. So I'm going to do my best to zoom out a bit, talk about the bigger picture here, and then give people opportunity to ask questions. What we're not going to do is talk about the activities and what are the activities you think we should do or shouldn't do, because that will take place in the committees. Does that make sense? Awesome. So if you would please go to page 9 of the strategic planning document. It's a blue chart. It looks like this. And I just want to make sure that we're clear with vocabulary, because it's good for all of us to be speaking the same language. So on the left-hand side, it says strategic priorities. There are 5 of those: governance excellence, community engagement, on the backside, overseeing and supporting police reforms, advocacy, and then transparency and accessibility. So those are the 5 from the document that was created in the fall, in November, December, and that we looked at last month. What was so interesting is that when Commissioner Smith and I brought all of the activities, essentially you can visualize each one on a note card, when we put them all on the table together, they fell under 2 of the strategic priorities. And so that helped us understand really what the focus could and should be. They fell, and you'll see on the right-hand column, potential activities. Those are the things that we came up with in committee for the most part. And you'll see many of them fall under priority 2, community engagement, and many of them fall under 3, overseeing and supporting police reforms, which you can imagine is PPRR, the work of policy and research. So what this tells me, the other thing we did, if you see, so strategic priorities is on the left-hand side, those are the 5. It says original strategies on the left-hand column as well. So that refers to the small text, not the bolded text. For example, under community engagement, we will foster trust by keeping the public. That is what turned into their theory of action. Anything that was in column 1 in the regular typeface that was actionable, we moved into the right-hand column as an activity. So we wanted to keep things in the right level of the pyramid. Because all of the activities that we brainstormed in the committees fell under 2 buckets, we thought, well, what about the other 3? So I want to give you a moment to think, and then I'll invite some discussion on governance excellence, because that seemed to be something that would be important for us as we comport ourselves up here on the dais, as well as with each other in panels and in committees. There's room for that, but it didn't fall under the work of either of our committees. And then number 4 and number 5, advocacy, and then transparency and accessibility on page 10. The proposal you'll see in the second column is by taking some of these advocacy, transparency, and accessibility are really important. And they are values. To operationalize them is almost to diminish them. And so the conversation we had was, well, what if we could do all of our work in those manners, in a transparent and accessible manner, and understand that our job, number 1 job, is advocacy. We're really here to provide meaningful civilian oversight. So in that second column, you see that the text has been broken out. Some of it has been moved, could be moved to goal 1, that's a proposal. And then merged with activities in goal 3, we put that in goal 3, as you can see that last activity in goal 3. And then same thing for number 5. We will seek invisibility. We would propose that could be moved under governance excellence, because that's how we intend to be doing our work. And it probably affects the other 2 committees as well. And the same with making the meetings and materials accessible. That could go in goal 2 or goal 3. So the proposal that Commissioner Smith and I, and please interrupt me, Commissioner Smith, if this, I don't mean to speak for you, but what we have talked about is could we limit the number of strategic priorities to 3 so that we could really go deep? And I think what that would mean is that when people ask us what we do, how do you provide meaningful oversight? We have 3 ways that we do that. And we're all really clear on those, and we can talk about it. And I think that will also help move our work forward. What questions do people have and wonderings? What do you like, what do you not like? Yeah.
I think one of the challenges we face is for people to feel like they're getting procedural justice, they have to feel like they're being heard. And it seems like we're mandated not to give them any sign that we're hearing them. I mean, for instance, the public commenter this afternoon, I'm not sure we're the appropriate body to receive that comment. I'm not sure how we would act on it. And we didn't provide him any feedback on that. And to me, that is not governance excellence, regardless of the city requirements. We need to figure out a way to direct people where they're just letting them speak at us for 2 minutes isn't effective. And we need to be able to actually help them get their issues acted on and heard.
Thank you.
Anyone else?
I did have one question.
Commissioner Palmer?
So in regards again to the create process within legal constraints, as well as addressing the question posed by Commissioner Baker, from my understanding, we do have access to some anonymized data. Are we able to report on any of that at these meetings here for the public? Because in my experience as a member of the public attending these meetings since November of last year, there has been multiple times in which numerous community members have attended these meetings and have brought forward concerns, most notably with the family of Allison Lucier. And in February, there was a demand, and then going into the spring as well, into the then canceled April and May meetings, that there be a report on that from this commission on what information is going on with the after action review that this commission sent a request for to City Council, which ultimately did get passed and is being investigated by the city auditor. And that's just an example. Are we able to effectively use the power that we have with that access to the anonymized data to use this as a public forum in which people can present things to us, and then we can get back with them, even if it's not in the same meeting, even if it's in the next month's meeting. That way they feel that, one, they're being heard and being answered.
I don't know if the clerk's office wanted to add anything to that question.
Chair Reeves, I apologize. I missed the first half of that comment, so I'm not sure what you are thinking that we'd like to add, or if you'd like to repeat, I'm happy to add something if it's relevant.
Yeah, so my question was, in brief, from my understanding, we have access to anonymized data as a commission. Are we able to give reports on that anonymized data that we have to the public at these meetings? And we can make that a consistent thing within a legal framework, within the legal constraints.
Madam Chair, Commissioners, Joel Fussy from the City Attorney's Office. I don't know if I can answer that question in a vacuum. Certainly any data that's provided to you that's public data, you can share. The provision of the ordinance that talks about anonymized data, I think, is the one that the director talked about some work being done to provide those case summaries to you in upcoming meetings. And once that is done, those will be public summaries, and those will be freely shareable. But that's the only specific instance of anonymized data that I'm aware of, and that will be public data.
Okay. Thank you, Commissioner Palmer, for your thoughts. And just a quick reminder for the body that we're going to, I've noted the particular activities that I think are great ideas. I'm inviting ideas and comments just now about the strategy, sort of at the higher level, and what you all think about having 3 instead of 5 priorities.
Commissioner Kennedy.
My question may interrupt where you're trying to go, and I apologize. But Commissioner Shanfield, first, I really appreciate the benefit of having a skilled facilitator, having us have this conversation. And I want to just briefly add my perspective before I ask my question. The perspective being, when I reviewed the documents before coming here and not knowing what we were going to do with them, I didn't maybe appreciate some of the nuance you've now described. So could you tell us just briefly in a sentence or two what we're going to use the rest of our time for? Because I think it would help us understand when we should ask some of the questions that we're coming up with.
You've just led us right into the right spot, so thank you, Commissioner Kennedy. The rest of the time, we're going to talk about how do we move towards, 1, some shared language, what are we all willing to say out loud, and then 2, how might we, should we decide that 3 is the right amount, do we need another committee? We're going to talk about where would we do the work. So if the vision and the mission are the why and the what, and the theory of action is the how, then we would talk today also about the where and the when. Does that make sense?
Yes, thank you.
Did you have a question or comment? Okay, thank you. Commissioner Olson.
Getting ahead of ourselves a little bit in your mention of a committee devoted for governance. As we've had these discussions, I was initially kind of skeptical of a need for a new committee, but listening to the comments here, whether it's a new committee or some other mechanism, I think, Commissioner Baker's identification of an issue with how we navigate interactions with the public and our restrictions that we've been given, that seems like an ideal topic for some further focus so that we can have a smaller group interact with the clerk's office, interact with the city attorney's office, and figure out how we can be more effective while complying with the law. And I think Commissioner Palmer's identification of issues fits in that as well. And then a third topic that fits is the mention of onboarding here. This has been an issue since we've started. Like, whenever we get a new commissioner, it's difficult to figure out how they get up to speed and how they get trained and what the expectations are. And I think that's another kind of focus that could be done through some kind of mechanism apart from community engagement and public policy.
Thank you. Commissioner Newman.
I just want to echo, Commissioner Baker as well as Palmer. Commissioner Baker, you brought up a good topic that we've had multiple discussion on, of resources here within the city for being present for our community members that are here and speaking, and the conversations that they're bringing to us, because is it the right place, like you said, to have these conversations, and where can they go to have these necessary conversations? So, but that could be the other committee of some sort of, just calling it a straight up public hearing. And then even incorporating those meetings with the MPD department and their community engagement that they're doing, and us just being present at them and forcing MPD to do more community engagement locations, whether it's, Sabathani or on different sites, different neighborhood organizations. And that would be another opportunity for us to be present and vocal about what we're doing here in these panels, and just additional engagement of policies, and not just ones that we are picking or the ones that the city's picking, but having the community be able to look at all of them and just be present, and having just fostering that trust and building that trust. And then we're being on, the level of different civilians. But yes, when these people civilians are coming here having these discussions with us, and there's not a city representative that is present to be able to help them navigate where they need to be, or how to make these, how to make a complaint, or whatever their situation is that they're coming to bring to the table. And, the gentleman talking about his neighborhood, he wants more officers to be present, and how can we help him with that? How can we help that neighborhood by not just going to the council representative and pushing the envelope? But, first, I guess it starts from the top, and us as commissioners sitting in this committee, and what we're going to give, because it's a lot that we have to give, but we just need to be navigating a funnel from the city and MPD to be able to create this platform for us to be able to open the doors and go. I mean, we don't want to create and reinvent the wheel. We just need to be out, boots on the ground, and get out of these offices, these desks, and we need to be present.
Thank you. Any other questions?
I have one.
Commissioner Stewart.
I'm probably really, really jumping the gun, and I'm sitting over here trying to bite my tongue, you guys. But the community engagement committee really dug deep. We spent a lot of effort and time into this, and I just want everybody, because they had to remind us of that we are volunteers, and we have to be mindful of our own capacity. And I think that we need to really hold ourselves accountable for the work that we're doing. That's why I asked for the gentleman to be able to come back and speak to us. You guys were not privileged to what we were privileged to at our last month's meeting. He came and he spoke to us in great detail about what is going on in Ward 12, and we did come up with a lot of different opportunities and solutions for public to be able to be heard, and for us to be able to not just sit and listen to them, but also engage with them. So when I say I'm jumping the gun, I'm probably jumping the gun by saying it's going to take for us, as Commissioner Newman mentioned, it's going to take for us to commit to the work. It's going to take for us to sacrifice a little bit more of our time. It's going to take for us to demand a seat when MPD is holding public safety meetings, that they are remembering that there is a commission oversight that is here, that is willing to do the work. I continue to bring up the MSTAT meetings because there is absolutely no reason that each ward representative is not present and doesn't have a personal email invite from Chief O'Hara and or his staff to let us know when these are taking place inside of our wards, inside of our, and all of us should have contact with our precinct commander. Each and every last one of us should know who that commander is for that particular precinct that's inside of your ward. I know a lot of us don't. A lot of us don't have that relationship. I do because I demand it. But I believe that it's going to take for us to actually do this governance, number one. I don't know if it's a subcommittee. I don't know if it's something that we say, hey, who's interested on the third Saturday of the month? This is what we're talking about. This is what we're doing. This is what we're moving forward with. You guys, I know that we have NACO coming in October. For those of us that had the experience of going last year, I honestly don't want for us to show up as halfway. We need to show up and actually, like my mom would say, stay home if you're not going to go big. If we're not going to do it, we need to not participate. I'm going to be very honest. This is something that is very serious to me as a civilian, as I just received earlier today an incident that involved MPD. And I'm glad that my community members inside of Ward 8 trust me enough to be able to say, hey, Ms. Stewart, I'm not sure if what I'm seeing is accurate. Can you help me with it? I think that that's our goal, and that should be where we're leaning towards when we say, what are we going to do? So I apologize for jumping the gun, but I just cannot sit quiet through this one.
Okay. Thank you. Any other comments? All right. Commissioner Shanfield.
Commissioner Stewart, thank you. I would like to invite everyone, if you're feeling so moved to share any reflections or what this makes you think of, because what you've really just said is really powerful, which is we need to do something. And that's what we've heard from the community, and we all believe that also. And so this is, in terms of moving to the theory of action, essentially, is to say, hey, this is what we're going to focus on, because we could do a lot of things, and we should do a lot of things. But as you also mentioned, time and bandwidth is a reality. And so what if we could all divide that up? And what if we could be really strategic and thoughtful about how we do that, so that it's not on just a few people's shoulders, but everyone feels invited and feels part of moving this forward. I'm just imagining, as you were talking, Commissioner Stewart, if we were all 15 of us were sitting in the front row at MSTAT. We could do that. We could show up. A couple of us went to the MNJRC event the other night, or to MSTAT, and what if we were all there together? But that's up to us, right? We don't get paid for that. This is on our own time and organizing. But I think there's a real possibility, an opportunity here for us to work together and to really make a difference. So given that, and these moves to action, I'm pause and see if anyone else wants to have the mic before I move on to our next step.
I did have something I want to say.
The chair needs to call on you.
Commissioner Palmer.
Yep. Well, first of all, I definitely just want to echo a lot of Commissioner Stewart's statements. I thought there's not really much else I can add to it, but Commissioner Stewart is absolutely correct. More needs to happen. There definitely is a lot more power that this commission can have. Ultimately, I feel like I have a lot of things I would like to recommend and say, but ultimately I think that needs to happen in a committee of what we should be doing.
That was a beautiful segue, but I'll wait and see if anyone else has other comments. Great
All right.
segue. Thank you, Commissioner Palmer. then I think the next step here is proposing a third committee. A committee, so if the community engagement is outward focused and the policy research committee is focused on recommendations, then this is one that's focused on how we operate, how we govern ourselves, how we engage with the city, how we respond to public comments, right? How we roll and what we want to do, the culture of our organization here as commissioners. That because we are a board, we are not part of the city, technically, but we have our own lane, and so what that could look like. So people who've spoken up, I also would invite us to think about sharing the load, and so if you're already on a committee, you might choose the governance committee instead. But I think we should be really careful about bandwidth. You're welcome to be on as many committees as you want, but I would really encourage everyone to be on one. And let me pause and see what level of interest there is in leading the way for a governance committee.
Any commissioners?
Myself, I don't really think we necessarily need. Sorry, you need something?
Go ahead, Commissioner Stewart.
We don't necessarily need to add another committee, maybe just an extension of the community, community engagement committee.
Ask him, yeah.
I'm part of the community engagement committee as well, but just an extension of that to where it's just pushing and forcing us to be more out in the field. And that's just simply what it is, reaching community members. So I think, I don't think we need to add more to it, but the only issue would be quorum of it, and, and then just a focus within there of who would be out, who would, create the calendar, who's, that portion of it, and just keep it community-based of how we can reach the people versus the city.
Okay, Commissioner Baker.
I was wondering about maybe a limited term committee, meeting for 3 or 4 sessions so that it's not as open-ended, although, maybe it does belong in the community engagement. And then my other question was, do we have a quorum issue if we did all show up to an event like that, or if a quorum of us showed up?
So, to my understanding, and correct me if I'm wrong, Clerk, if there is a community meeting, such as the Chiefs MSTAT, and we were all to show up, do you have the capacity to notice the community and say there may be a quorum present, but no business will be discussed?
Chair Reeves, thanks for the question. Yes, that is exactly what you would do, actually. So if you know about the meeting in advance, it's free and open to the public, then it would just go on the calendar with a notice that there's a potential that a quorum would be there. And as you said, we usually put in a disclaimer that there's no intention for official business to be conducted.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Baker, were you done with your comments?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Palmer.
Yeah, I kind of want to second what Commissioner Newman was saying. It does seem like a lot of the stuff that is in this Governance Excellence Commission could be part of a community engagement commission, or a committee, sorry. There may potentially be a few things in there that could be delegated to other committees, but I think overall, this should be included as part of community engagement, because it seems like there is a pretty big intention and push for us to become more publicly visible, as well as more active in our communities. And how we behave is ultimately going to be part of that perception of the CCPO and how people engage with us. And that's all.
Commissioner Smith, and then Commissioner Candy, and then I'll put myself on stack. Commissioner Smith.
Madam Chair, I appreciate the comments about the role of community engagement in helping advance this list of governance issues. The one thought that still occurs to me is that some of what we're talking about in governance is very internally focused. It's not focused out on the community. It's focused on how we all do our best work to get all the training we're supposed to get, to show up and participate in disciplinary panels, and to plan kind of some of our annual functions. So there's a capacity for that. It need not maybe be a standing committee, but it has an internal focus on just helping us perform at our best. making sure we're all holding each other accountable to fulfill all of our duties. And that, to me, is different than some of the other community engagement things. So there's a lot of ways we could do it and make it fit, but that's a comment I had. And Commissioner Kennedy.
I think I was called on ahead of time, so I'm going to jump in. So part of what I was going to say was I was beaten to the punch by Commissioner Smith's comments, but let me build on that. So I'm, I guess, preliminarily speaking in support of the idea of a separate governance committee. And the reason that I would bring to your attention for consideration as to why I'm thinking it's a good idea is, having been on the commission for a year now, one of the lessons learned that all of us up here know is how much work comes with this role. We are all volunteers, and what we do here, which is public and is televised and is as public as we can make it, is kind of the small part of the job. We do a lot of work in the review panels that we're trying to discuss here, how to make that and the learnings from those more public too. But something that I feel like has been missing in the last year is, because we are so busy doing all of these things, we are extremely reliant on the wonderful help we get from the city in planning our meetings and planning what we should be talking about and executing them when we show up for these meetings and going through agendas. But this commission often has very little voice and conversation among each other, and that's what we're all here for. We're the representatives who are supposed to be, finding the hard issues. And so I'm trying to phrase this in a way where I'm making clear I'm not saying there's anything wrong with the wonderful help that we get from the city, but I do think this committee would be a route to give the commission itself more voice on what we want to hear, how we want to discuss it in these environments, how we want to move the work forward. And I think that's what the commission's for. So that's my attempt to say, I would start out with the assumption that I don't want to create another committee, especially because a year ago when I was joining, the commission was just kind of finishing a long process of figuring out how to run the committees, and we settled on 2. Right? So I think many of us probably don't want to rock the boat by saying we want to add another one without a very good reason, but I think there's a good reason to consider. Thank you.
Thank you. So I was in queue, so I'll just add, I agree with Commissioner Smith and all those in advocacy of governance committee. I do think the work is important. I do like the idea, though, of an ad hoc, putting a defined time on it. To make sure that we're getting these things done. And I know that was kind of the conversation before, is it being a standing committee? If it should be a standing committee, it should not be, because it was kind of just detailed work in compact. But I do like the direction. This is going to have 3 goals, and I think governance is always going to be helpful as we figure out ways to govern ourselves, and it being an internal process as opposed to the community process. And those things that we talked about today that are more community focused would be appropriate for the community engagement committee. So I am advocating for the governance committee, if that matters. And anyone else? Want to make sure I didn't miss anybody. Commissioner Stewart.
I am also in favor of having the governance. And the reason why I say I'm in favor for it is because there does need to be accountability amongst ourselves internally. There needs to be accountability of, as Commissioner Newman said, someone keeping a calendar and making sure that we are saying, hey, are you going to show up? I really appreciate the community engagement leadership that is in place, where we call each other and say, hey, are you coming? I appreciate you calling me and saying, Bridget, did you put it on your calendar? Because we are, as you said, Commissioner Kennedy, we are all very, very busy, but I think it would lighten our load and it would hold us accountable, even if it were, as Commissioner Baker said, even if it was for just a limited term. I also think that it would help our newer commissioners with the training component, just to have a basic understanding of language and what we are here for and why we use some of the terms that we use, and then understanding how to read policy. Because I know that coming in new last year for myself, if I had not gone to NACL and I had not had relationships outside of here with some of the commissioners, I would be very lost in just basic language. So I'm grateful that I had relationships with other commissioners before joining the committee, but if I had not, I would be just a hamster on a wheel. So I think having a governance and being able to have actual basic training of what you're looking for when you're on a panel, what type of communications you need to be able to speak up for your ward, and how to represent, because all eyes, I believe it was Commissioner Palmer that said how we engage is huge and how we show up in community is huge, because there are so many people that are watching us, from young children to our elders in the community, and we really need to always represent ourselves, our family, but know that we are on a commission, that people are absolutely watching us, because if we're holding police officers accountable, they want to hold us accountable. So I think that in order to do that, we need to have this committee, however we go about it.
All right, thank you. Any other questions, comments? Commissioner Bartz.
Thank you. I think that I absolutely see the need for it, and I'm new, so I'm not going to, I don't have a lot of experience to base this on, but my relatively short experience, I've seen the need for this. I would caution, though, that the language that's used to create the committee obviously will need to consider the city staff and how this is going to work in terms of coordination. And then from there, as commissioners, if we have questions, about procedure or whatever, who do we ask? Are we going to be going to the new committee members all the time, or are we still going to city staff? So I'm a little bit concerned about kind of duplication and creating more bureaucracy. And I don't know, maybe I feel that the need is a bit to more of maybe a liaison or advocacy thing to work with the city staff a bit more. That's just my initial impression, because I do feel like definitely a disconnect from this commission, other members, and it would be nice to have very clear parameters so that we know how we can get together and work together without worrying about a quorum or not. And I think it'd be a lot more productive if some of these parameters were kind of laid out. And I think we just need to think about how the committee itself would function and what the members would do in their relationship to the city staff. Thank you.
Anyone else? Commissioner Newman.
Sorry, I just wanted to add a quick little tidbit. I know before we created the committees, we had a working group. Maybe let the focus be the working group, to where it didn't have to be so big where we had to send out notifications. We didn't have to alert the public. It's just an actual working group, so those city officials wouldn't have to be involved in creating calendars and things of that nature. It would just be strictly working. And we would be mindful ourselves of who would be in attendance out of all of us. And then make sure we wouldn't have the quorum, so everybody has an opportunity to work and to put it in. And then for those that weren't, we would just quick little synopsis of what we discussed and go from there. And then maybe it'd be, kind of shuffling of who's going to work and who will come to the next meeting, things of that nature. And everybody have their 2 cents. So it'd just be a working group.
Commissioner Olson.
This probably raises questions, and I think it's a good idea. I was the head of the working group on governance when we first started, and I liked the flexibility you have as a working group. But as we studied the issue and learned that the difference between working groups and committees, we had a lot of input from the city clerk and the city attorney. Because my understanding was that a working group is kind of a defined term that, and I'd love to have the input from you guys, that it's basically the process would be the commission has a task it needs done, and it designates some of the commissioners to work on that until it's done, and then the working group disappears. And this seems like, to me, the various potential activities we have seem like they might be more fruitfully addressed in a more long-term community rather than just the commission telling the working group what to do.
Madam Chair, if I might.
Yes.
Thank you. I would direct your attention, and your thoughts are exactly correct. In your bylaws, it's actually Article 8, committees and work groups, and those bylaws are on the public website. If you go to your page, the rules, the ordinance, they're all there. But it's Article 8 talks about committees. Keep in mind they have to be, any committee, whether standing or special, permanent or temporary, may only be created with the prior authorization of the city council. So that doesn't mean it can't be done. You can certainly bring this request to the city council and get a permanent committee if they were to grant that to you. But that obviously would take some degree of process. And then you're exactly correct with regard to there is a little more flexibility with the creation of a work group. Again, refer to those bylaws, but just real quickly, they state that the CPO may create work groups of its own members constituting less than a quorum to address specific issues on short-term tasks or projects, to report recommendation or findings to the full CCPO because they're less than a quorum. Work groups are not subject to the open meeting law, for instance. So the way you phrase it, exactly correct, Commissioner, that they kind of have two different purposes and two different life cycles. But those are policy considerations that you can look into. Certainly, it's easier and more flexible to go with a work group, but that's not going to be as permanent.
Okay. Any other? Madam Clerk?
Thank you, Chair Reeves. I'd just like to add, on top of Attorney Fussey's comments, that just looking at this language, and I know this is just an idea that we're sussing out at this point, but maybe want to encourage some caution as Commissioner Bartz started to sort of wade into this territory about what is the role of city staff, clerk's office versus what's the role of this body and the committees, the total group, and certainly when it comes to onboarding, training, all of those things, we certainly have some things in the works, and we don't have to go down that rabbit hole tonight. And we did a orientation in December. We actually were going to talk with the chair this week about potentially doing another one, and actually next month, because we've got quite a few new members. And just want to provide some perspective as well about when you start talking about shared language and those kind of things. And as we all do, we think about the things that we're involved in, but this is a body that operates by, of course, you get to make your own rules, but we also operate by rules that are set up both by the city, by the state, by best practices and all of those things. And we just want to be careful to not diverge too far from what the accepted language and things are of just conducting business in this manner when you work in connection with the municipal government. And so I don't have an opinion, obviously, one way or the other on whether you form this committee. I mostly just want you to understand that we have a significant role to play in either providing, teaching, or executing some of these processes. And so you're just going to want to keep that in mind, that it's not sort of a DIY from every direction. There's, practices and language and stuff that we're going to want to follow. And so I just wanted to point that out as you move along through talking about this potential idea.
Okay. All right, thank you. Anyone else? Commissioner Palmer.
Yeah, initially I did state that it seems like there's a decent amount of the governance excellence committee that's proposed could be more towards community engagement, but hearing some from the other comments from the other commissioners, I do think it will be a much longer process to establish a committee for it rather than just a working group. Although I do see the reason for both of them. I do think ultimately it is worth pursuing this as a committee to ensure that it does have kind of a long-standing effect on this commission.
Thank you. So in a moment, oh, go ahead.
Madam Clerk.
Apologies, again, just a point of information. Thank you, Chair Reeves. Just saying, in the sort of spirit of your ability to make rules and govern yourself, it's certainly, I think there's probably some real value from what I hear you all saying about talking about, we can make available all of the information in the world, and how you consume it, though, is up to you. And I do think there's probably some room for you all to create some parameters around that for your body. So how you take in training, new information, onboarding, things like that, is, what that information is, probably heavily is going to come both from civil rights staff and from the city clerk's office, because we have processes and uniform information in place. But how you all consume that information and what you require of each other, certainly I think there's some room to engage on putting some things in your rules around that. And so just wanted to clarify on that point.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Shanfield?
Thank you. In the spirit of collaboration and shared language, what it sounds like, and I really want to appreciate the discussion. I think this is the most sort of elaborate discussion that we've had, and I appreciate, Commissioner Palmer, you saying, I've changed my mind. Like, that's really welcomed. And as we build on each other's ideas, hopefully we'll get to the strongest idea. What I've heard and the needs have been really clear and articulated. What I'd like to propose, and I'm going to say propose, not motion, until we're ready for a motion. But what I'd like to propose is that we start with a work group, and the task of the work group is to decide this, to figure out, is there enough work for a committee, or is this going to be, here's how we're going to engage in the notes that we've taken from tonight, and that's the finite task. So that's what I'd like to offer, but I wanted to see if anyone has any way to build on that or make it a little more articulate before we have a motion.
Anyone? I don't want to say your name, Mac. Oh, I know I'm going to get it wrong. I'm sorry.
Mike. Great.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
So kind
phonetics.
of looking at this, it's thinking about how we might have a work group and break things down. It would be definitely like maybe part one is try to document governance needs and kind of clarify, define what some of those needs are. And then we could bring that to the group. And then part two would be more of like an evaluation and recommendation of next steps. And that would be, relatively short term. And we could come back with a lot of questions. Like, these are the things we can't figure out within this group. So we give ourselves kind of the out there, but we can have the limited term, limited meeting, kind of come in and just start doing something. And it's, I like the quote, a good decision today is better than a great decision tomorrow. And this is going to be something to get us moving in that right direction, doing anything. And then kind of from there, we can figure out, okay, what are those more permanent steps? What is that committee? What is that biannual review of a work group? Like, there's maybe different strategies we could recommend. So.
Perfect, thank you.
Thank you.
So I'm going to draw your attention to page 8. And what you'll see here is the bottom two rows, the two theories of action you've already seen from PPRR and community engagement. Above that, there's a blank theory of action, essentially how we work effectively together to carry out the work of the commission. So the proposal I'd like to make is that a work group be assigned the task of figuring out what is the work, and do we need a committee, or is the work group there? So to define the work and a theory of action. Does that?
Do you want to propose it in a motion?
Yep.
Okay.
I'd like to propose we have a work group, a temporary work group, to figure out if we need a committee for governance excellence.
Is there a second?
Seconded.
I'll second.
I heard a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Okay. Seeing somebody. Commissioner Newman?
I just thought about something. That if within this work group, if that whatever that we're creating, that we're able to partner maybe with Kevin, Carlisi, is that his last name?
Carlisle.
Carlisle, excuse me. Partner with him, because I know he's in community engagement piece.
He's actually in a different position now, so I'm not sure who
gave him a job.
who gave-
But I'm just saying, 'cause as someone on the inside to be
Yes.
able to have that piece with MPD, to be able to create these events and stuff like that, and
Okay. Maybe we can help identify who the next person is in that
Correct.
role to assist would
or
be helpful.
whoever teammates with
Yeah.
on his. Yep.
Noted, okay.
Thank you.
All right. Seeing no further discussion, clerk, if you could call the roll on the motion for the work group.
Commissioner McElhenney? It's on. We turned it on for you.
Yay? Aye.
Shanfield?
Yes.
Newman?
Aye.
Plummer?
Aye.
Baker?
Yes.
Stewart?
Aye.
Kennedy?
Aye.
Bartz?
Aye.
Inderly?
Aye.
Smith?
Aye.
Vice Chair Olson?
Yes.
And Chair Reeves?
Yes.
There are 12 ayes.
Thank you very much. All right, we have a work group. Would you be able to send out an email to get volunteers for the work group so that we can make sure we don't have quorum and then see who all wants to be on that work group? All right.
May I respond, Commissioner? Chair, I would like to pull the notes together from tonight and have a cleaner version for people to look at and react to. And then hopefully we could put that on the agenda in the following month.
Sounds good.
Committees could look at that. And I do want to encourage people, especially people who, as you spoke up tonight, as you felt passionate about something, that this might be a group you would want to join. And we will also, I'll follow up with the folks who are not here.
Thank you. All right. Next up, we have
Point of information, Chair Reeves.
Yes.
I just also want to point out that if you just need to be cautious of open meeting law when you're emailing to the whole group. If people start responding back and forth, we get into a little bit of a serial meeting potential issue. So you just want to be careful with that. And also, please include civil rights and the clerk on these convos so we can support.
Thank you.
Point of order then, is there a better way to say, I'll send out information, but you're going to address that? Great.
So what I'm going to ask all commissioners is when we have any communication such as this, that you please be very mindful to not hit reply all. If you have something that you would like to ask or you need clarification, please ask the sender of the email or reach out to the clerk's office. We just want to make sure that we're not doing reply all, but it's important that we all see that communication has went out. But please, please, please do not hit reply all. You might get a nasty gram. So, all right, thank you very much.
Point of order, Jerry's.
Yes.
Is there a way here that we could all agree on, or perhaps the clerk's office has a suggestion, where we could just suss out interest? That's separate from receiving the information. If you're interested in serving on the governance work group, is there a way that we could just have commissioners report that to someone directly?
Commissioner Shanfield, are you sort of leading this? I mean, they're certainly welcome to respond individually to you. It might be better actually for them to send that interest to Ms. Zhang, Lalinda Zhang. She's really your staff point person. And I think to avoid open meeting law, just veering too close to the sun, we may want to just organize this through Ms. Zhang.
So maybe I can ask this question. Is there anyone here tonight who knows that they may be interested in serving on this governance committee? Okay. Commissioner Palmer, Commissioner Enderby. Commissioner Clement is also interested. Her and I had a conversation. So I think it'd be helpful for the two of you, and I'll let Commissioner Clement know, to please email Linda with your interest to serve on the governance work group. And that way she has it in writing. Sound good? And if anyone else would like to, as long as we don't go over 7 people. All right. All right. Sounds good. Thank you. Commissioner Shanford, just want to make sure that you were done with that point. Okay. All right. And while she's looking, just to be mindful of time, we have 23 minutes on the agenda, but it looks like we may have 50 minutes left allotted, so just be mindful of that.
Yes, just a reminder that this document, the strategic priorities, et cetera, is a working document. So that this is a draft. And so we will, everyone's voice will be heard before it's finalized.
Okay, thank you. All right, Commissioner Olson.
Yes, I'll direct people's attention to page 7. Page 7. And for those of you who have seen the previous versions of the strategic plan, you may recall that we had a one-page statement of vision and mission with 3 items in it. And I'll just go through the original versions of that and then the proposed revisions to that have come up through the committees. First, the vision of the CCPO is to be a model agency that executes police oversight and accountability in an impartial manner that aligns with the national best practices, that contributes to an equitable public safety response as the Minneapolis Police Department serves and interacts with the community. There have been no changes proposed to that statement of vision. The mission statement. Our mission is to provide strategic and thoughtful recommendations and excellent oversight in shaping and sustaining constitutional policing in the city of Minneapolis through effective, efficient, and equitable governances with a commitment to collaboration and engagement with our diverse and growing community members. The proposed revision is to shorten that substantially, and this mission would be to provide strategic recommendations, effective discipline, and excellent community oversight in shaping and sustaining constitutional policing in the city of Minneapolis. Finally, the authority, which there is no recommended change, the city of Minneapolis created the Community Commission on Police Oversight by way of enabling ordinance sections 172.40 and 172.60. These sections outline the CCPO's composition, qualifications, trainings, review panel procedures, powers, removal, and organizational structure. So that is the proposed language for the new mission and values, or vision and mission statement on the strategic plan. And if anybody has any thoughts on that, we'd welcome them now. And Chair Reeves will manage the discussion.
Any comments, thoughts, questions, concerns about the vision, the mission? Commissioner Kennedy.
This is just a question for, I don't know what group prepared this proposed revision to the mission statement, but I just want to, I guess, confirm my assumption based on reading them. Is the point to just make a more readable and concise mission statement that still covers the same breadth as the original version, or is there any intent to change the mission of the commission?
I think it's much more the former than the latter.
Commissioner Smith. I'll have you get your microphone. Thank you.
Madam Chair, Commissioner Kennedy, one observation I have is that the previous statement of the mission made no reference to the disciplinary process. And so by adding the phrase effective discipline, it highlights that one of our major parts of our mission is to be involved in the disciplinary panels.
Okay. Anyone else? Commissioner Palmer.
I did notice that the revised mission statement here does not include, in the previous one it said commitment to collaboration and engagement with our diverse and growing community members. The revised vision statement does not include much about engagement with community. And I think that is a little bit concerning, as we are the Community Commission on Police Oversight, that we should be very actively involved with the community of Minneapolis, and that should be highlighted in our mission statement.
Okay. Did you?
If I may? Thank you for the feedback. One thought in terms of if we're thinking about the pyramid, so if we're at the very top of the pyramid, which is the vision, why we're doing this work, the next layer down is what we do. And community engagement is more important than what we do. It's how we're doing the work. So the idea was that the community engagement piece is covered in all three: the governance excellence, the actual community engagement committee, and then also the PPRR, the policy review, that we do that alongside community members, and perhaps we can make that more clear in the language, but that it was taken out there not to remove the community at all, but in fact to make it more operational in the next layer down in the pyramid.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Smith.
Madam Chair, in response to Commissioner Palmer's comment, which I appreciate, we could make one word change. If we said engaged community oversight rather than excellent, it would at least connote, it would put the words community engagement or engaged close with each other, and it would, to me, it would infer or signal that we do this work by being engaged with the community.
So it would read, our mission is to provide strategic recommendations, effective discipline, and engaged community oversight in shaping and sustaining constitutional policing in the city of Minneapolis. Is there any issue with that change? Any suggestions? Not seeing anything. Purposes of time, if we're all in favor of adding engaged instead of excellent, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, all right. Any other suggested comments or thoughts on this section?
Yes. I'm dying.
Okay. So, do we have agreement on our mission statement? Sounds like we do. Okay. All right. I have Commissioner Shanfield and Commissioner Smith on the next item with the fleshing out the strategic goal.
Yes, in light of the decision around a work group, I think we would just want to, let's just talk briefly here about when and where that can happen. So interest will be expressed to Ms. Zhang over email, and then I guess the question for the group is, do we think that group can, how quickly do we think that group can meet? And that would be a question for the city to answer, I believe, right? Because they need to staff find the room, et cetera. Oh, no, it's a work group. It could be virtual.
Yes. So it might be helpful to coordinate that with Linda in terms of who's expressed interest, and then she can help us in her so capable hands to figure out how to get it scheduled. So if that works for everyone. And then hopefully by the next meeting, that will have already been determined of how you're going to schedule, since it's a work group. Okay?
Yeah, so by the next time.
Yep.
Okay. And then may I just do a quick concluding piece, and then we will yield the rest of the time. Exciting. My hope, I shared at the beginning, is that if someone in the elevator asked you what we do on the way out tonight, that you'd be able to say we contribute to meaningful and effective civilian oversight through governance excellence, taking care of ourselves, and how we engage through community engagement and through providing substantive recommendations to MPD. How does that sound? I think the missing piece there is the around procedural justice, and that was the most recent training we had. So I guess I would add we carry out our work by modeling the tenets of procedural justice. So trust, respect, neutrality, voice, and trustworthiness. And you could say any of these things in any order, but I'd be curious if there's anything in that people feel uncomfortable with. That would be helpful for me to know as we close.
Any comments on that?
I have a comment.
Commissioner Stewart.
I think just to keep it easy, simple, and clean, if we all were just to state our mission, because if we go back to our bylaws, we are not as a body to address. We are to take back our concerns and have our chair and co-chair as our spokespeople to address. So I think that if we all just stayed very clear and clean to just our mission statement as our reflection back, or our answer to if someone in the community said, what is it that you do? We just all kind of somehow, if it were, just say the mission statement and then get their contact information, email our chair and co-chair, and make sure that we're copying our directors and the city clerk and the city attorney on whatever is brought to us in that elevator. And that way we are steered clean of not breaking our bylaws.
Okay. Any other comments? Make sure I'm not missing anybody.
Love it.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. So we have a plan that's working document. We are going to have a working group for governance. We're going to email Linda with our interest, and we're going to keep bringing up ideas in this working document. Sounds like we're all on the same page. All right. Thank you very much, you guys. I appreciate everyone's comments. This has been a really good discussion, and I appreciate the motion maker at the last meeting. Can't recall who it was to have this. I think it was Commissioner Smith over there for the detailed discussion on the strategic plan. Has been very helpful to figure out what everyone wants to see on this body. So thank you. All right. Let me see. New business. We're getting there, y'all. Our next order of business is new business. The first item is the Police Policy Research and Recommendations Committee referral of Minneapolis Police Department's proposed police policy 2-203, Early Intervention Systems Comments.
That's me again.
All right. Commissioner Sheffield.
I believe, I'm sorry, which number?
9.
Thank you. Yep. What we would like, I'd like to make a motion tonight. What we were told in our June meeting by the implementation unit and the city attorney is that the next policy that will be being reviewed is the EIS policy. It doesn't really exist. It's just a small paragraph, but there's tons of language in the settlement agreement about it, and some in the consent decree as well, which we know they'll have to follow. So the motion, the challenge is this is one of those that's only 30 days. And so we have a meeting on July 28th as PPRR. The recommendations are due by the end of July. So the motion is, would it be all right? Would the body allow us to submit on behalf of the body? We will send a copy to everyone. But otherwise, we have to submit it individually as people and not as the commission. And so it carries a different weight. So that is the on the floor. We hope that as PPRR, we've started to earn your trust in the level of detail that we review the policies, and as you've seen our work so far. So hope you would consider.
Commissioner Sheffield, if you could just restate the motion succinctly for me, just so I make sure I hear it for the notes.
I'd like to make a motion so that PPRR can submit recommendations directly to the implementation unit this month around the EIS policy.
Thank you. Is there a second? Well, there's a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All right, clerk, if you can call the roll on that motion, please.
Commissioner McElhenney?
Yay.
Shanfield?
Yes.
Newman?
Aye.
Palmer?
Aye.
Baker?
Aye.
Stewart?
Aye.
Kennedy?
Aye.
Bartz?
Yes.
Inderly?
Aye.
Smith?
Aye.
Vice Chair Olson?
Yes.
And Chair Reeves?
Yes.
There are 12 ayes.
All right, thank you. Seeing that passed, the recommendations from the committee are referred to the police department. The final item on our agenda is amending the CCPO calendar to reschedule the October meeting. This meeting lands the same week as the NACO conference and needs to be rescheduled so we will be able to attend the conference. We currently have limited options due to other committees that need to be broadcast in these chambers. We will be able to reschedule to either Wednesday, October 15th or Tuesday, October 21st at 6 p.m. We also have the option to cancel this meeting if we don't think we can get quorum either of those days. Is there any discussion from the committee? Commissioner Baker.
October 15th is MEA weekend, so for any of us who are parents, it may be a challenging.
Okay. Commissioner Stewart.
I think that we should definitely meet before NACO, which would be the October 15th, for those of us that could meet, because it's going to be imperative that we're all on the same page, as we will all be representing our oversight.
Okay. If I can recall, the 21st also is before the conference.
Oh.
Yeah, so, Commissioner Palmer.
For me personally, I would personally speak in favor of scheduling this on October 15th. As for me personally, I have already something scheduled on the 21st at that time.
Okay. All right, any other comments? Would someone like to make a motion for one of those days?
I would.
Go ahead, Commissioner Barber.
I would like to make a motion to reschedule our October meeting to Wednesday, October 15th.
Okay, is there a second?
I second.
Okay, any further discussion on October 15th? All right, clerk, please call the roll on that motion, please.
Commissioner McElhenney?
Aye.
Shanfield? Aye. Newman?
Aye.
Palmer?
Aye.
Baker?
Nay.
Stewart?
Aye.
Kennedy?
Aye.
Bartz?
Yes.
Inderly?
Nay.
Smith?
Aye.
Vice Chair Olson?
Yes.
And Chair Reeves?
Yes.
There are 10 ayes and 2 nays.
All right, so we now have a new date for our October meeting, October 15th, 2025, 6 p.m. in this chamber. Thank you very much. All right. With that, we've completed all items on our agenda for this meeting. Without any objection, the commission stands adjourned. Have a good evening, everyone. Thank you. And we got done just 16 minutes over our time. Great job, everybody, considering long agenda item.